All right, let's talk about the cloud. It's a term that gets thrown around constantly, right? But what does it actually mean? Well, believe it or not, there's an official definition, and getting a handle on it is pretty much essential to understanding our digital world today. So let's jump right in and break it all down. At its very core, the cloud is all about one massive fundamental shift in how we approach technology. We've gone from a world where you had to own every single piece of gear to a world where you can just access incredible computing power whenever you need it. And this isn't just a small step up, it's a completely different way of doing things. I mean, think about the old way for a second. Doing IT involved so much heavy lifting. Companies had to buy their own physical servers, find a place to stick them, keep them cool, manage all the networking, all of it. It was incredibly expensive, it was slow to change, and it was just a huge drain on time and money. And this visual really shows the difference. When you let a cloud provider handle that whole hardware headache, it frees up your organization to focus on what actually matters, building amazing new things for your customers. You're shifting from managing boxes and wires to driving real innovation. Okay, so this all sounds fantastic, but it brings us right back to that central question. When we say the cloud, what are we really talking about? Is it just someone else's computer? Well, yes and no. It's actually a bit more specific than that. And here it is. This is the official, honest-to-goodness definition from the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. Now, I know what you're thinking. That is a mouthful. But trust me, every single word in that definition is there for a reason. This is the gold standard that defines what is, and just as importantly, what is not, true cloud computing. To help us wrap our heads around that big definition, NIST breaks it down into 5 essential characteristics. The deal is, if a service doesn't check all 5 of these boxes, then technically it's not a cloud service. So let's take a look at what they are. So here are the big 5. First, on-demand self-service. This just means you can get resources like server time or storage whenever you want automatically without having to call someone up. Second is broad network access. Basically, you can get to it from anywhere, on your phone, your laptop, whatever. Third, resource pooling. This means the provider pools all their resources to serve lots of different customers from the same hardware. Fourth is rapid elasticity, and this one is a game changer. It's the ability to scale up or down almost instantly to match demand. And last but not least, measured service. This is huge. The system keeps track of your usage and you only pay for what you actually use. Kind of like your electric bill. Okay, so that's what the cloud is. Now, let's get into the 3 main ways you can actually use it. These are what we call the service models, and they each offer a different balance of control versus convenience. And to make this super easy to understand, we're going to use an analogy that I think really works. Just think about all the different ways you could end up with a new house. The 3 cloud service models are a lot like that. First up, you've got Infrastructure as a Service, or IaaS. In our house analogy, this is like being given a plot of land and a big pile of lumber, bricks, and pipes. The provider gives you the absolute basics, the raw infrastructure, but you're on the hook for building everything else on top. This gives you the most control. Next in line is Platform as a Service, or PaaS. Now, with this one, the provider has already done some of the work for you. They've laid the foundation and hooked up the water and electricity. So they manage the hardware and the operating system and tools. You just focus on building your house, or in our case, your application. It's a perfect sweet spot for developers. And finally, we have Software as a Service, SaaS. This is the one we all use every single day. This is the move-in ready, fully furnished house. The provider manages literally everything. You just show up with your key, your username and password, and start living in it. We're talking about tools like Google Docs, Dropbox, or Salesforce. This chart here really lays out that trade-off perfectly. See how as you move from IaaS on the left over to SaaS on the right, the blue part, the stuff you manage, gets smaller and smaller. You're basically trading that granular control for more convenience and speed. So, we've got the what and the how. The very last piece of this puzzle is the where. And the NIST framework gives us 4 different ways a cloud environment can actually be deployed. The 2 models you're going to run into most often are private and public. A private cloud is exactly what it sounds like. It's infrastructure that's dedicated to a single organization. A public cloud, on the other hand, is the massive infrastructure from providers like Amazon, Google, or Microsoft that's shared by, the general public. Now, beyond just public and private, there are a couple of other key models.
A community cloud is a cool one. It's where several organizations with similar needs, like a group of universities or government agencies, share an infrastructure. And then you have hybrid cloud, which lets you mix and match, combining private and public clouds so that your apps and data can move between them. It's the best of both worlds.
Okay, so we've been through the 5 characteristics, the 3 service models, and the 4 deployment models. You might be thinking, why do we need all of these formal definitions? Why does this NIST framework actually matter in the real world?
Well, the big takeaway is that having this standard builds confidence. When everyone in the industry agrees on what the cloud is, it creates a common language. And that common language allows for clear standards around security. It gives you the ability to move your data between providers, which is called portability. And it makes sure different cloud services can actually talk to each other. It's the foundation that lets businesses really go all in on innovation.
So at the end of the day, this framework shows us that the cloud isn't some fuzzy magical concept. It's a very well-defined, powerful set of building blocks. It has totally changed the game for how we create, innovate, and solve problems. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with them? Thanks for tuning in.